going? Matthew Bailey Media here, and welcome to another 2024 movie review. Now, I know I recently just did my review on Harold and the Purple Crown recently, but this movie was not released in theaters, and I decided to watch it anyway, though, because I thought it's another film from a franchise that I definitely grew up watching, and that is, of course, Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie. That's right, this is literally a Sandy Cheeks-centered movie where we actually get a lot more detail about Sandy. Like, we actually find out why she's been in Bikini Bottom all this time. Again, without spoiling anything, this whole movie basically centers around her having used to work for a place in Texas called Boots or whatever, which is some type of science lab, which is why she's such a fan of science. And she basically has to team up with SpongeBob to go up to the surface into the state of Texas and rescue everybody from Bikini Bottom from extinction, I guess is a good way of putting it. And she apparently, and there's some new characters that we get introduced to in this movie that I don't think were ever heavily mentioned in the show. And that is, of course, Sandy Cheeks' actual family. Her mother, her father, her brother, and even some younger kids. I'm not sure if they're her siblings or they're her niece and nephew or something. But all I know is that she has a family who apparently were part of a circus, and they join forces to try to help Sandy and SpongeBob save everyone in Bikini Bottom, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say without spoiling too much about this movie. Now, I will say the villain in this movie I thought was interesting, to say the least, and some of the other human characters that were featured were interesting. In fact, I think there's one of the main human actors in this movie is actually, I think, the same lady who was just in season 1 of One Piece, who played Captain Alvida. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments on that, but I think she's the same actress, and they're literally in the middle of filming season 2 for One Piece, so I'm curious how well she's going to do in the beginning of that show. But going back to the Sandy Cheeks movie, like I said, this was an interesting concept about basically giving Sandy her own standalone project, and I see why they decided not to release it in theaters. Now, I know there's another SpongeBob movie coming out sometime, I think next year, that will be in theaters, but I think the reason why they chose to put this movie on Netflix is because it is just a Sandy-centered movie, and it probably wouldn't have gone well in the theaters. So I figured, it makes sense that they released this one to Netflix. But still, Netflix, I'm kind of surprised, though, that they didn't release this to Paramount, because doesn't Paramount own Nickelodeon, and Nickelodeon is the studio that made SpongeBob? I was kind of surprised they released it to Netflix, but I guess maybe because they decided to license it off to Netflix, maybe giving it a little bit more of a bigger audience. Maybe that's why they did that, but again, I will say this movie, you may find this shocking, but I actually thought this movie was just a little bit more enjoyable than Harold and the Purple Crown. Now, it wasn't too much more entertainable, but still, it was more entertainable than that movie, if I'm being totally honest, which is kind of surprising. But anyways, let me give you my rating of the movie. So, for my rating of Saving Bikini Bottom, the Sandy Cheeks movie, again, definitely an entertaining, fun film for the kids who are fans of SpongeBob, or even some people who grew up on SpongeBob like me. I think it was a decent film, and it was nice to see a little bit more exposition into Sandy Cheeks and her origin in the show. So that was kind of cool. But I'm going to have to give this movie a 3.5 out of 5. Yep, just a half a star better than Harold and the Purple Crown. If hopefully I'll post that review before this one. But anyways, that's all for now in this movie review, and as always, I will see all of you guys in the next video.